Today's Monday, July 6th. I have to look at my calendar. And tonight, today, whatever you want to call it, whenever you watch this, we have with this David Stephenson. And David has been doing, I'm going to say it two ways for you, David. David's been doing ZX81, or as he might say, ZX81 projects for quite a while. Yeah, I saw the nod. Um, I think I first came across David's site. Let's see, this is 20, about 8 years ago when he was designing a external keyboard for the 81/1000, and um, what made it sort of interesting and unusual for me was that it was really nice. It was real full-size keys, full-size keycaps. It was reasonably compact. You could get a 3D printed tray that it would go into. I remember who we ordered those from, but you would order the tray and I think maybe a back plate. Had this little ribbon cable that went around and connected to an expansion to um, uh, a thing that plugged in the back of your 81 with a couple discrete TTL chips on it. And but within the keyboard unit itself, there was an Arduino Nano. Is that right, David? I think.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was a
And you could
Nano. Something like the Nano. The other one was the Micro. I think
micro, yeah, it was
originally.
a tiny Arduino, and you could connect it to your PC as a USB keyboard. So you could, use the 1000 keyboard experience without any of the keys that a Windows or Mac computer needs to survive um, as your keyboard. David, my suspicion, I'm going to take myself off the spotlight. My suspicion is that you intended us to use that with an emulator and not as our daily driver. Is that a reasonable
Yeah, it was
guess?
designed as an emulator. Yeah. You could use it as a full driving keyboard because
You,
it had
you, you'd have a real
space.
hard time.
You could. I made sure you could do it.
So, David's joining us from Australia. It's what, ridiculously late at night or sometime in the middle of the day? I can't.
That's 11 o'clock in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's utterly reasonable. Okay, cool.
Yeah. The other option where you meet, I think, on Sundays is that's like 4 o'clock in the morning or something
Oh,
strange.
okay.
Which was,
Okay. So David's done a bunch of other things. You did some cool interfacing boards, and then you branched out into games. You wrote shoot, Tut Tut, which was a sort of a maze game for the 81, which got ported to a bunch of different platforms, right?
let's start off on the. I'll give the whole rundown and
Yeah,
then
yeah. Okay,
finish
you know
neutral.
what? I'm just gonna let you talk now. So go ahead, introduce yourself, David. Tell us how you came into, because my assumption is that you are like us, relatively speaking, that you got one as a kid, and that was your downfall. That was the beginning of the
Yeah,
end.
that was the downfall. So I think it would have been in 81 that we actually would have been in 81 when we actually got the computer in the house for the first time. So I don't know. I mean, it's I guess it's a similar story here and the rest around the world, right? Like your parents bring home your father brings home a computer and to try out, and it just happened to be the one that you ended up falling in love with. So, uh, so yeah, he brought home the ZX. He brought home the ZX81. Didn't have an expansion box at that time, and within a couple of weeks we had the 16K because otherwise it didn't really do anything. But so that came home and sat on our dining room table for a year or so as the family kind of computer.
Oh my.
I think at that time in 81, it would have been me. I knew one other person that had a computer. It was me with the ZX81 and some guy up the road. Father had brought home an Apple II. So, chalk and cheese, really. Uh, but you can kind of talk the same language anyway. It's like, oh yeah, got a computer. That's what all these about. And then there was only two people that I knew at that point. And then within a couple of years, everyone had a much better computer on their desk than it's an X81, but we had that for well, it seemed like an eternity. My dad got bored and said, "No, no, I'm going to buy a better computer." And buying what here is a micro, known as a micro B, which came with like
Oh,
disk drives,
yeah.
lots of stuff. Bought
Yeah,
it quite. Uh, and so I ended up with this X81 in my room for the next three or 4 years until I inherited the micro B when he went and bought a piece and C. He had to keep going. Yeah, but the 81 is the first one. And so obviously it was kind of like at that point, I guess it was an exercise in frustration too, because I got the 81, and then next year, obviously the Spectrum came out, and I started looking at all the magazines, and we got all the English magazines, obviously. So I had ZX Computing and all that stuff. And you're sort of reading these things and going, "Oh, if only I could run the Spectrum stuff. Gosh, surely this could work." And then you try and type some of the stuff things in, and go, "You just wouldn't fly." So, but it was still an awful lot of fun to have in your bedroom for an extended period of time until everyone started having Commodore 64s and stuff, and you couldn't run any of the latest games. And any games that you did run, it was impossible to get software here at all for it after a while because everyone had moved on. So everything you put on the computer, you had to type in from a mag or obviously try and write. And that was the
Yeah. Yeah. Did a little bit of that. A lot of typing in from magazines in my youth. Um, all right, so you graduated to various computer models in between, and then at some point you came to your senses and decided what I really need to be doing is working with that 81 again.
yes.
Did you
That
fall and hit
was
your head, or what was the
I think as everyone did like in through the late 2000s, I guess the 2000s, late 2000s. You sort of go back and go, "Oh, what's this box?" And I think when the Raspberry Pi came,
Yeah.
it started making an appearance. And at that point, I thought, "Oh, that'd be great to run an emulator on a Raspberry Pi
Hmm.
and and make that in the sort of the shape of a ZX81." So I found an emulator that worked. I think you can still get it. SZ81, I think it was.
Hmm.
And I used that as the basis for building this little what I called it AZ80, AZ15 at the time. So it's 10 years ago, 15 years, 11 years ago. And I sourced like a membrane keyboard for that and hooked all that stuff up then used that, what would later become the Arduino code that ran the keyboards that I was selling was the first iteration of that, which I
Oh
used
wow.
to interpret the keyboard into this pretend ZX81 thing, and that was the introduction into it, and that's when I started my blog, I guess way back, which will become ZX81 Keyboard Adventures.
Yeah.
The impetus behind starting my blog, and that was kind of the hook back in. And I thought it'll stop there because but it didn't, and I thought, well, what else do I do with this this thing that I've just made? It's kind of cute and the same size as them. And then I started the rest after that.
Nice.
But that was kind of fortuitous that happened at that point, I think, because it was quite an easy entry at that point. Like the Raspberry Pi wasn't yet the complicated, it's not a particularly complicated beast, but all it wasn't that hard to get into. Arduino's had been kicking off for a while now, and that was kind of pretty easy to get into because I've never really been into electronics or anything like that. Like I ended up working in IT, but my background like wanted to be a visual artist, not a software engineer or working in IT. So I never really got into electronics as a kid, other than computing. But it was an easy kind of inroad into that. So that's what sort of powered the first iteration of the blog, and everything else has come
Nice.
out of that interaction, that first thing. Um, so I did that. Then I wrote about a whole bunch of little projects that I started on. I think, I sort of actually moved back into real hardware pretty quickly after doing
Yeah. Yeah, because
doing
you did a bunch of other projects, like there was this IO thing that you worked on.
yeah,
Um,
it's a fair bit. That's a fair bit. and that's what's kind of in the background of the shot is that IO board
Oh yeah, it
testing.
says right there. I
So, so that's one of the last later things that I did on hardware wise. But yeah, the games. So I had that. I started the blog, wrote a few things about the odd bits of computing here and the old sort of hardware, and then some 81 stuff. I wrote some. I think I converted. There was a game that was what was his name? There was this famous Australian guy that used to write for ZX Computing. His name's eluding me at the moment, but he's one of the big writers for ZX81 software. He's a bit of an advocate for it. And he published in ZX Computing and a couple of things like that. And one of
Mhm.
his the challenge was to try and write this checkers game in BASIC and try and get that to work. So I basically did what he did and followed up, improved on the game that he published just as a bit of a fun side project. And that then led me to writing for in the end led me write. There was a magazine that was here we called was Paleotronic magazine,
Hmm.
a limited run magazine. There's like 12 issues and it's scheduled out, and we're going to do this. And I sort of said, well, I've got this blog. Why don't I see if I can write for this magazine? So I contacted them and said, hey, do you need someone to talk about Sinclair stuff? Essentially, yeah, sure. Here you go. Here's some free magazines and a little bit of cash there to write for these articles. And I guess that's when the whole Tut Tut thing started, which was that was in that magazine, which I wrote for Spectrum.
Oh, okay. Okay. And
I
then
hope
you
this makes
did
sense.
you like backport it to the 81 then?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
did you
I
when
did.
you wrote it for the when you wrote it, was it basic machine language? Because I've only like,
Yeah,
I watched
okay.
the sort of explosion of posts, on Facebook and various other places about it, and it seemed like at one point in time there was a and it's been ported too, and it's been ported too about every month or so.
It's, it really took off. So I guess knowing everyone obviously aware that Sinclair Basics is notoriously slow.
A little bit.
Um, and particularly on the Spectrum, there's a whole bunch of constraints that just prevent Basic from running at any sort of reasonable clip. So you can, I think, so I think it's the frustration that so many people do, oh, bugger this, I'm going to go and start writing in machine code, right? But at the core, which is kind of my modus operandi for actually developing on ZSE1 as well. It's like, well, technically the machine should be capable of doing quite a lot, right? Even in basic. So that the challenge for Tut Tut was like basically as it was sold to me, it was like, can you write a game that's got something to do at Halloween? Because we're putting out this is the October issue, right? And
Aha.
I thought, okay, sure, I'll try and write something on the Spectrum for Halloween. And they said, oh, here's some ideas and about some other games that used to get written on, for other systems. And I think one of them was called Lady Tut, I think was one that came up. Lady Tut, I think something like that. Well, I like the idea of the game, but I like the name, and I looked at the game. I don't like the game. So I'm not at all. But it was a maze game. I thought, okay, well, a maze game's gonna fly. It would fly quite well. But the challenge is trying to get an interesting game written in BASIC, and that was my challenge. Was like to make sure that people can, because I've never been a assembly programmer, and I get to that point. It's like I'm just getting confused. I'll do it in BASIC, um, and then try and make this thing as fast as possible. And obviously by this point in time, there are 1,000 tricks everyone kind of knows, and you just compile them all in your head and you get them right, and you can kind of slam down a game that's quite fast. But that was the ultimate. I guess that was the achievement of that first version of Tut Tut was to try and get a basic game that you could type in. It wasn't going to take you for hours and hours to type in. That was quick. So I guess that was the challenges were make it quick and try and code it in such a way that you can put multiple levels in and go through. And I think fitted in, managed to fit in about 16. It needed a 48K spectrum in the end, but I think there was like 16 levels.
Hmm.
And it ran quite fast. The slow part was when it would draw each of those levels, because I used tricks there to make sure to get the gameplay fast. I had to sacrifice the initial kind of drawing of each level,
Hmm.
because I basically pre-draw the whole screen, um, and then each character, whether what were mummies on the screen, whether they were there, and I just have to then flash the attribute block, color block, to to move them around. So it saved a whole bunch of time. So the only time I actually had to redraw anything was when you were pushing blocks and things around, or the main character sprite, the UL would move, and you'd have to redraw those background characters that were there. So that was the only thing that was really doing the redrawing, and the rest was just like attribute flashing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was quite quick. And there was a huge response from that.
Yeah.
It was like quite, it was pretty impressive. I was like, oh, this is, this is awesome. And it got to the point where I was talking to Simon from Cronosoft
I
in
was
the
about to
UK,
ask you that. Yeah.
and he said, oh, we want to release this on tape. And I said, well, can we do a ZX81 version of it first? And and I thought, well, I can't make this fast on ZX81. But I can if I go to C. And that's when the ZX81. So the ZX81 version was the first version. And I wrote that. Then I wrote that in C.
Okay.
Um, and luckily, those attribute hacks that work so well on the ZX on the Spectrum are basically what is how you put a character on the screen on the ZX81 anyway. So that was a good kind of like crossover. So the game that I wrote when I wrote it in C, so I think I gave a whole description in the magazine about how the game is put together. And the game that I wrote for this A31 in C is basically just almost like a mirror copy of what I've written in BASIC, only in C, and making some changes that for quirks for Z81. And that went nuts as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Hmm.
And then I said, okay, Simon, I'll take it back to the Spectrum. But I did the Spectrum version in Boreal. I think it's Boreal Basic.
Okay. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is also compilable. So again, if I took what I knew from the Spectrum, the Spectrum to the Z81, then took it back to the Spectrum, and then I got a second chance to redesign all the characters and then things, putting a little bit of music and stuff in there. Not much, but just a bit to make it interesting. And then I could, redesign on the 81, I redesigned how I put levels together, so cram a whole bunch more levels in, and then I took those levels back to the Spectrum. And then from there I got request, hey, can I port this to the Jupiter Ace, which I got from George. I forget George's last name, but George said, can I port this to the Jupiter Ace? I said, sure. Here you go. Here's the code. And then a couple of people I knew said, oh, can I take this to the RC2014? Sure, here you go. Take it to the RC. And then Dave from Tynemouth Software in the UK contacted me, said, "Can I take this to the PET?" Because he was in the process of releasing his
That's right.
Commodore PET.
Yeah.
I said, "Sure, take take it to the PET. And if you need anything, let me know and I'll help you out." But he came back with a completed version and then he said, "Here, play this." And he's like, "Well, this is pretty much identical." So it's a one version. And then again, after that, I was talking to him and said, "Well, can we take that? I mean, if we've written it for the PET already, surely we can take it to the VIC-20 as well." And we did. So I spent one Christmas, I think it was I had COVID over Christmas. He said, "Well, I'm not doing anything else. Let's take it to the PET." So we did that as well. And that was fortuitous because we had the PET's only got like an X amount. I think it's 40, with some ludicrously small amount of characters, 20 something characters across, I think,
The
the
Vic. Yeah. The
screen.
Vic is 22-ish or 20. It's pretty small. It was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And the XA one's obviously got 30, it's got 32. But
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
order to
Reasonable
keep
amount.
But in order to the original game, in order to keep the speed down for the Spectrum, I actually shrunk the screen down so it actually was actually about 24 characters across, right? In total, including the borders and things. But with some pets tricks on the pet, you can actually extend the screen to pretty much 24 characters wide. So it was a trick, a bit of a hack to take it across to the pet, but luckily everything was just fat fitted, and we could take all the levels that signed across to the pet, and then tweak the graphics and whatnot and things, and then ended up on the pet, and so it went nuts just from a game that it said someone's sort of challenged me to write
Right.
originally for the in basic essentially for the Spectrum.
Right, it's a Halloween game. Um, so you've done a couple other games since then. You did one that's that Minotaur, um also sort of a
Yeah,
Minos game.
yes,
Pronounce that for me.
Minos Knossoss.
Monosis Knossosis. Okay. All right. And these are
Um,
both these are, by the way, they're all on your itch.io page.
yeah.
So you can just download. You can go, buy David a cup of coffee and get his games.
So
Um,
Minos Knossoss, I guess, was just I guess a direct sequel to Tut Tut.
okay.
Um, and I only did it. I did it as AC1 because by the time we got into the pet version of Tut Tut, it was like, well, all these things I kind of want to take back to the 81, and I did that. That's what I did with Monosis Knossoss was basically, well, actually, we've learned all these different things. Let's put that into one in the next game and make it kind of harder. Then it was generally a complete rewrite because I'd learned a lot more by that point, and then wrote that up instead, and then released that again through Cronosoft. But that was,
And
and then it was like, well, what do I do now? I don't know
yeah.
what to
Uh-huh. Right, right.
do next.
Which,
And so I did a couple of different hardware projects and things like that because that's important, I think.
absolutely. Yeah, interfacing a clock chip. Is that a vintage Dallas clock chip or is that a more recent one? Because I remember
Well,
the batteries would die in those.
yeah, the batteries are alive, so I got them off Amazon. I got a pack of like 5 or 6 of these things from Amazon, and the batteries seem alive,
Okay.
but alive enough to prove a point. To prove a point. I don't know. Has anyone actually watched or listened to the what is it RCR, the retro podcast? It's an
Oh, that rings a
American,
bell. Yeah.
yeah, with Carrington Vanston and those
Retro retro computing roundtable.
yeah,
Ah,
that's the one.
thank you, Ryan.
Retro computer, which is quite a fun listen to. But every time they always pay out when they said X81. And my point of view was like, well, technically, it's not that much worse than an Apple II, right?
I mean, does Tut Tut exist for the Apple? Or where did
It could easily.
it
It
could,
doesn't.
but it doesn't, you see.
But it doesn't. It's the Apple can't run it. It's
Right.
useless. But one of the things I always pay out and they say, well, it's just it's like, well, actually, all these early computers were were garbage, right? Essentially, when you look at them these days, go so there's not that much separating them. So I guess that was kind of why I built this hardware because in a sense, essentially, it's just as expandable as an Apple II, right? Like you put a card on the back and you've got colored, screen generators, or you can read a Dallas clock, or you could interface with you at the latest in USB hardware. So essentially, I guess my standing point on these things is like, well, it can do just as much, from a retro point of view as any
I
other computer. So I guess the hardware is like, yeah, I'm going to prove that it
Yeah.
can these things, right?
Well, and in the States, we had people who made disk drive systems. Well, they were disk drive systems from England as well, but we had at least two folks develop it. No, three. That's three. Develop some kind of add-on that used the Texas Instruments 9918 video chip, the one that's in the 9948 computer. Um, add-ons for their, 81/1000 using that chip to give it, color, graphics, all that kind of jazz. One of those things was it had the board with the chip on it and the necessary RAM, and then also some guys had written the necessary ROM extensions. Those are replacement ROM on it, but the necessary ROM extensions so that you could use your 1000 programs almost exactly as is. If they were written in BASIC and they wrote to the screen in all the standard ways, you just plug this thing in, load your program up, and it kind of acted like the Chroma 81 does now, except through the 9918. And this was 1980, 1980. Let me think about this. Five-ish, I think, that these jokers came up with this thing. Long past the expiry date of the computer itself. People were still doing craziness. And of course now we're just, you can get the Wespe and have VGA and, a web server attached to your 81, or a ZXpand or whatever. Um,
I think it's living wanting to do like back in the day, trying to do these things. I think as a hobbyist, like daunting,
yeah,
right? Daunting, and also because like if I blow up my computer
it's the
in
only
music,
one.
I don't have a computer. So as a kid, like no, there's no way I was going to do it. Um,
Yes, yes. I remember
but
changing the
now,
heatsink and thinking if I mess this up, I've got no computer. Fortunately, I did not mess it up.
but now it's like okay, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Can replace
just get
the
another one
thing
off
with the.
eBay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the impetus behind doing the designs and things, and a lot of them just you sourcing period kind of articles and going, oh, what did people do back then? Oh, I'll see if I can do something similar, but make it better or
Yeah.
more usable. Which is what's basically running this Dallas clock thing. There was an article in I think a Maplin magazine I found online about an interface board. I thought, well, surely you can improve on that, and that's what the card behind this is doing.
That's cool.
I can get it to talk to the real computer and whatever, or to a clock or speech synthesis or a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly.
Having the
Exactly.
information to it, if you, which is handy because you can just look stuff up on the web and go, oh, okay, there's this thing, and I can make that. Whereas if you'd missed the particular magazine article in 1985 or whatever, it would be like, well, okay, I don't know, there's nothing I can't do it. It makes a huge difference. So it'd been, I guess, yeah. So I played around with those, and finally, I think came time to write another game.
Hmm.
Um, and that's when I started writing Zevious at the end of last year. Well, I written some screen tests because again, it was one of those things. Where I knew the computer should be able to handle. Everyone should be able to do things. Should be able to do screen scrolling really fast.
Hmm.
It's like you just kind of one of those things you kind of know. No one's done it, but you kind of got to know. Look, it really should be able to do this thing that I wanted to do. At the point, I didn't have an actual game in mind. But I thought, well, let's just get this screen scrolling really quickly down the screen and see how fast I can get it to go. And I could get it to go at quite a ridiculous kind of speed in the end. I thought, okay, well, can I? And there's a fair few tricks to get that. But I knew that like scrolling and a game between scrolling and getting the game to work at a reasonable speed is quite a challenge, right? Because as soon
Yeah.
as you go to do it's like, well, suddenly everything's gone to jelly, and get it so there's a lot of work to do to try and make it into a game. So I guess, but the impetus was like, okay, I can get this thing to scroll. I think I can make the rest of it work. And then unfortunately I didn't document it because at the back of my head I should have been writing it all down at the time how I did it, right? But I didn't because it was like, oh, this is no. I think it's going to work, but I don't want to put it out there and make and say, hey, I'm going to go to this thing and then have this because I just wasn't sure in my head. But I played around with screens and getting this scrolling to work. But how was I going to make a game out of that? I was like, I don't know. So I kept playing, and then in the end, it was like, well, I'm going to have to do multiple. Like you can't write to the screen and then remove a character and then write the character back. You can see that. So I'm going to have to waste all this memory to write double buffering of the screen. So and to, I probably should give a better rundown of that, shouldn't I? I'm not making this well. Yeah. So, well, okay, I was just kind of, I guess I kind of started from the beginning. So I'd done the screen score, and I thought, well, how my next, so basically a whole bunch of tests before I even got anywhere near the actual game. So well, I'm going to need a double buff for this screen. I can't just keep writing. So I did send a whole bunch of next screen tests. So I said, okay, so if I write, I need the D file, the main D file from the 81, which obviously, and I'll need a second D file, and I need to split between the two of those two screens to get some sort of idea of smooth scrolling,
Yeah.
or transition of characters moving around the screen at least. So I tried that out. That looked quite nice. Then I had the next problem was like, well, I've also got to scroll the screen down as well. And that still left me in the position where I'm going to need three screens. Right. So I've got basically this 3K what became Zevious now is that's almost, I guess, let's just call it 3K. It's easiest. It's the 3K of the game is just given over to handling screens. So I've got one screen that basically is the map screen, which all the scrolling is handled on. And
Hmm.
copy every frame, right? It copies that map over to one of the 2D files that swap in and out, and then the graphics are then layered over the top of that what will be a D file, and then the D file is swapped into the active area.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's how I could get that speed scrolling and know that I could put sprites on the screen.
Oh my
So
God.
I did some tests with that before I wrote any game code at all. And yeah, I could get that going really quite quickly. But then the quest then became, well, now I need to wrap a game around that. And what game am I going to actually wrap around that? That's a demonstration. Because it was at this point, it was all just like I had blocks basically moving down. I basically just had blocks moving down the screen at that point.
Hmm.
And I just said, oh, here's 5 blocks that you can redraw at the top and then bring them down and then keep wrapping those around. So it was like the idea of the game was there, but I didn't know what to actually do with it. So I had that sitting around since before Christmas. And I thought, okay, really got to make a game of that. And I was playing Zevious just on MAME. And I thought, I love Zevious. What if I could actually bring Zevious or at least something that resembled Zevious
Yeah,
across?
yeah.
Because
I
it's a
mean,
game.
start with a reasonable goal, right?
Yeah. So I thought, sure, let's do that. It's a game I loved. And it was a secret shame of mine. It was used to be an arcade in a bowling alley down near where I lived when I was younger. And if anyone remembers, like you used to be able to take like the inside of a lighter with a static electricity and you used to be able to start games up. It was like Zevious was the last one of those that I could find in the area that always worked with one of those static discharges. So I used to spend hours playing Zevious for free. So we're well past the point of being done for lasting here, I think. But that's so Zevious was kind of like this. I knew it quite well. I thought, oh, surely I should bring Zevious because it's a fairly simple at heart. It's fairly simple kind of. It's one of the first, so it's a pretty simple scroll game. So that's like the perfect kind of candidate, and we'll still have to bring it back a bit, pare it back a bit, but that should work, right?
Mm.
So I got a game, and the rest was trying to work how to make that between those scrolling that scroll I worked out, and then build the game around that. So I think anyone that's developed for the 81 in any capacity is like, well, you got 16K. I mean, to work with realistically. I mean, there's all the modern expansions and things, and you can go up to 64K and say, oh,
Yeah.
I've got 64K, which is nice. But if people want to play it or buy it on a tape or something like that, you still got to go for that 16K level.
Fit within that.
Otherwise,
Yeah. Yeah.
otherwise you're not gonna. They can make it. Maybe I can make an extended edition and then put it onto 32K or whatever later. But Corey, I've got 16K. How am I going to fit? How am I going to fit a game like Zevious into 16K? And then it was like, okay, well, I've got these boxes scrolling down the screen, and each of those is like, I designed them so they were like 3x3 characters, I think, at the time when I did the demos myself. I thought, well, if I then make those 4x3 and then have to basically have, so I ended up designing like, I'll have a tile, obviously you need, it's like any game, you go, I'm going to tile set for the background that's going to go down the screen, right? But if I divide the screen up into such a way, I can have these 4x3 tiles, and then I can write those at the top of my background scrolling area every 3 frames down. But these 4x3 tiles, but I can then compress those down and say, like when I'm running a level, or just one line of level, I've suddenly got I've got three tiles worth of down and
Yeah.
4 tiles across worth of data in just one thing. So this is a bit of our elite, run length encoding in the behind each of those levels. But I thought, well, I need to fit those. I need to fit that into as small a space as possible, right? So there's like for each 3x4 line on the screen, there's a minimum of like 1 byte per per tile, like per level per
Yeah.
line. So that's sort of what, and I got to try and fit all the information into that one byte. So it's like, okay, so that gives me like 32 tiles that I can choose from. If I make it 31 tiles, I can then use that other tile to say, but also I can say, well, actually put this enemy character here instead, as an actual background tile. So well, that should work, right? And I thought, well, if I can make that level compression work, I should be able to get. And I need to sort of did some math in the head and go, I'm going to need about like 8K, like somewhere between 7 and 8K, devoted entirely to the levels and probably the tile set.
Yeah.
And because I'm using the C compiler, there's also some cruft that comes with that, and that usually is about 3K. So I've now got 4K, I guess, to write the rest of the game in,
It's
somewhere in between.
huge tracks of RAM.
Mm. But having made like Tut Tut and other like attempts at games, it's like, well, actually, I can fit a fair amount. I could probably get the rest of the game into that 4K. That wasn't the question. I guess the question was like, well, how do I get that fast? In game. So there's a whole bunch of. So again, it's like I guess there's the background tile set, and then there's like the sprite tile sets, and the sprites are 3x3 rather than 4x3, just because it's convenient storage. But 3x3 is enough to give them some sort of individual definition that you can kind of do some nice animation tricks with, without them looking, a bit how you're going. So, but then you're stuck going like, I got to write nine characters to each of these screens for how many enemies are on the screen at one time, plus bullets and whatnot.
Mm.
So there's a whole bunch of pre-rendering tricks that sort of go into reading those and then writing those on the screen as well. But because I'm not having to, because with all the double buffering that's going on, I just have to write them to this, basically to the shadow buffer, the shadow screen. I
Hmm.
don't have to worry about taking them away again or anything like that, which is saves a ton of processing power, I
Oh
guess, from that.
yeah, right. Because you only have to write you just have to keep writing the new position. You don't have to
Yeah, don't
clear
take
it.
it away.
Nice.
And I
Okay.
also made so each of those tiles is like got areas where they don't need to draw anything as well. So they might be they might be 3 by 3, but on the majority of those the sprites, there's like one or two areas where they don't need to draw. Like there's a blank, so you kind of that kind of helps speed that writing process up. Each of those things as well. So there's things like that going on. But yeah, the main thing is like I don't have to worry about taking them away.
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
link to the screen, then just swap the screens around, and it looks like it's. Um, but that was I think that ended up being the biggest drama was that swapping of the screen, like to get that visual. Well, actually, I'll come back to that because that's kind of fun. But I ended up getting it to a reasonable speed. I just had to keep you just kept going back and well, can I do this faster? Can I do this faster? How do I optimize this levels and how do I check if things are being hit and all that craft, the actual game stuff that really slows down. That's the killer in the end was that working out where because you still need to know where everything is and you need to go and check it all. And that's if I didn't have to do any if you didn't have to do any checking, you'd be home and hosed. But it's all that checking where things are is what
Yeah.
takes takes a lot of that the time because I guess you've got only a limited window of time that you can actually, unlike the spectrum, like, 81, you've got that blanking period to do to do everything in, which is almost no time at all.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 That's
And
well, yeah.
it's a huge constraint. So it ended up that kind of worked, you know. But the frustrating bit, I guess, was then how do I time it with the system, right? Because I can swap things in as fast as I can possibly can. But what do I link? What do I link that timing rate to? And I guess there's there's a couple of ways of doing that on the 81. There's a timer variable where you can go, oh, I'll link stuff to the time, this timer clock to the clock variable, which I'd done for earlier games. But which I'd done for Minos Knossoss, so I linked it all back to the timer. But that doesn't work when you're switching screens across because you end up a whole bunch of screen tearing at some point,
Mm.
and you flash it going. There's a frame variable as well that tells you what frame you're on, or how many frames have been run, which I ended up linking the timing towards. So the game's kind of linked to that frame timer. But then trying to work out, well, how many frames can I actually do I need to draw? Yeah, that was quick. That was
Yeah.
hard. That was
Switching that out. And then so how many frames to how often is the screen the display files switching?
eight every 8 frames,
Okay.
essentially.
So 55.
That's the only 81 it does generally.
Yeah.
When there's like high drama going on, it's like we go over the 8 frames. I have to switch on the following, like a couple of frames later down. But in general, the aim is to hit for 8 frames. In NTSC, I think I had to take that out to 10.
Okay.
Right?
Wow.
Just because you don't have that time, which is why the NTSC version runs slower. Because otherwise you could let it flow, right? And go, is a frame drawn? Okay, I can switch, Um, but if you do that, you end up with that, the game's going really fast and it just crawls to a halt. So you try and pick that area where and go, so if I do it here, when it gets really, really hectic, you might notice at that point, but for the rest of the game, it's got this constant rate. Whereas you don't link it to something, you've got that speedy and then really crawling down. So eight frames, I think I ended up tying it to nearly 1 in 12 for the 1000.
Wow.
And so it does a test before the game runs. or before you start a new session, a new game. Is it a power system? Is it NTSC?
Right, right.
That was a challenge, and I had all sorts of controller reading joystick issues and all sorts of things at that point. It's like I didn't think I was ever going to get the controls to work at that point because I was trying to read the Kempston joystick and the ZX joystick and the Sinclair joystick, and it's like you try and read these things and the game would freeze up after after a bit. You're going, why? It's freezing. It was all it was all these bizarre timing issues, but yeah, eventually it worked. And it
Hmm.
was, I guess I impressed myself,
I-
which is nice. I,
yeah,
I
I mean, you know, just the just the graphics alone, um, what you've done with, I'm going to share a screen real quick here. There we go. Actually, where did I'm going to reboot this, um, and load it up again so we can see oops, intro screen. So I see we're up to 1.04. Um, that must be one of those super fast screen switches you were talking about, David, because I didn't get a chance to read that. All right. Okay. So QAOP. I've never been good at co-op. And then M is because there's no space bar of course, on the 81. Usually it's a space bar thing. All right. So I'm just gonna uh
it was changed in the
do context switch here. Look at that. That's not bad. Um, oh, I don't, I'm gonna preface this by saying, oh, whoops. I'm not good at video games. You'll notice this by my score.
Yes.
Um, but I mean, yeah, that flow rate, obviously it's an emulator, but the emulator tries to be reasonably accurate. That flow rate is entirely reasonable given, the hardware constraints that you were working with. Um,
Yeah, I mean the actual the scroll yeah, so the scroll every 8 frames it's redraw, I guess every 8 frames you're getting a screen refresh.
yeah.
So the actual enemy characters, the UFOs and whatnot, they move around at 3 times, I guess 3 times the speed of the actual scrolling in the end. So you're only so the scrolling something along those lines. Yeah, I think they move twice as fast. Sorry, it's got to get it. I can't even get it right in my own head anymore. I did it, but so I update every three. Yeah, it's actually no, sorry. Yeah, every 3 frames it redraws bits of the map. It puts a new line on top of the map. So every frame it does every second frame it scrolls on every second frame it kind of scrolls on the screen, and the enemies can move around between that, which is why they're kind of faster.
Hmm.
Uh, No, it must be three. Yeah, so it's three, three, three. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, it works in threes. So the scrolling happens every 3 frames. The enemies can move basically every frame, and you get a complete redraw after 3 scrolls, and
Hmm.
it adds a new top of the map. So there's only one. I guess there's only one cycle where it has to deal with absolutely everything, and redrawing map and doing everything once. And in that frame, that's when I don't do certain things in the rest of the game. To
Hmm.
the housekeeping that doesn't go on when it does the complete redraw of everything to try and keep some of that speed in. And the rest is all like tricks. So obviously, like things like those title screens that come in, yeah, you can only draw those once, right? Like the one where it says Zevious, And the next screen where it gives you the basic kind of premise of the story. It's like that you can only do those once because they're in the they're stored in screen buffers as the game starts, and it quickly overwrites those buffers to do everything else in the game. So it's in order to squeeze your 16K out, and I can't suddenly waste 2K on each screen. There's all those little things going on there
Yeah.
just to try and maximize how much space that I actually do have. And it's a
And,
great
and
lesson there. So
David, when did this come out? Like a few weeks back, right? Month
yeah,
ago-ish?
yeah, end of last month.
Okay. And
And the end of the month, yeah, the beginning of last month.
within literally days, uh there's this one guy who makes videos of him playing video games like this. And he had, made it and posted it to YouTube. I feel like he must have stayed up that night to do it.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah, Bill,
Yeah,
Lord such.
Lord Such, I think is his, yeah, right. Right. And so, that came in, and other folks, I mean, there was a real, uh, at least what I've seen on Facebook, a real flurry of activity. I mean, there usually is when somebody brings out something kind of interesting for the 81. But it seemed like this really struck a chord. I mean, there was there are these two American guys, um, Don and David, and they go by D and D. And a while back, they wrote a joust that requires
Mhm.
the Z expand, uses the WRX 16 high resolution graphics, and then more recently, wait, or did the Robotron come? Anyway, they've done a Robotron, they've done a joust. And both of those things, uh, got people excited, but this really got a lot more people excited. Just the reaction, and I don't know, maybe because it um, really reduces Zevious down to the 81's level, and try to instead of trying to bring the 81 graphically up to the Zevious graphic level. Maybe that's it. Maybe the what you've done in terms of reimagining it is part of its charm. I mean, it's certainly amusing to watch it go by, and then I die.
Well, what's the charm of the 81 and even like something like I don't know, the Commodore PET, right? You don't have there is no option to redefine Gurk. It's pure form. There's no option to
Yeah.
redefine. So you could have kind of, well, what can I use to make these things? And there's just enough with some creative thinking to get that kind of point across. I mean, even like just the UFOs, right? It's like, well, if I make them out of zeros and make them look like they're spinning around,
Hmm.
I've got something.
Hmm.
And it looks like a UFO, right? Because it's moving and sort of stuff. I mean,
There,
that's kind of, I
yeah.
guess, how you got to think, I guess, when you're doing that. And then that's a challenge, right? To try and make everyone sort of talks about, I guess, how hard it is to make an old game on even like a 64, right? Where you can design half the world.
Hmm.
And anyway, oh, so like, well, it's a lot harder to make it on on anyone where you've got nothing much to it. But that's the challenge, right? To try and get that point across in a minimum, in a minimal kind of space. And I think that's the charm of the system, and like that systems like that. It's like, well, I need to work out. There's no reason games should look rubbish just because I've got nothing to work with. I'll try and make it look as good as possible. And I guess that's another reason why I went with that 3 by 3 character space is that there's enough there to give that some variation. Um, in characters. And even back in the day, right? There's always like your this box is your man,
Yeah,
games. But
yeah. This box is you're right, right. Uh-huh. Imagine
and,
this, this black square to be Pac-Man. Yeah.
but even back then, there were other games I think there was one called there's a Scramble clone. I can't get the name of the actual game, but there's a Scramble clone on the 81, and does it. It's really slow, but it does a really great job of trying to put some graphics in. It's going, well, that kind of looks like the arcade. You made the controls really hard to use, and this moves the speed of the blob, but it's like you can make these things kind of work, and that's the challenge. It's a bit of I guess it's some abstract thinking about
Yeah,
how to put the things together.
yeah.
Um, but what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had
So, yeah, so John, or anybody else, feel free to jump in with your questions. But um, uh, actually, John, and you, David, you made a version for the Chroma 81, or you adapted it to the Chroma 81. So there is a color. Let
there's a
me
color version.
let me go to the
Um,
and unfortunately the pictures on I'm looking on the itch dot. Okay, here, let me go to the. I'm gonna share your itch.io
it's
page.
I
Um,
didn't actually do that.
what? Did somebody
No,
else?
over on the Sinclair World forums, there's a couple of guys over there that love taking games that people have just released and then adding the chroma stuff
Oh,
to it.
okay.
Maybe Greg already did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Is it Greg that usually does that? And unfortunately, these are tiny screenshots. Um, I wonder, but let me just open this open in a new tab, and then maybe I can just zoom in on it, and we'll do that because it's not going to lose resolution. Um, yeah. So whoever did this clearly redefined some of the characters and the letters because the letters are different. That's a different
Uh,
font, typeface, whatever.
Kelly Murda did it.
Okay, okay.
That's the one.
So,
But he did it really quickly. It's like I put it on I did published it over there on the forums, and then a couple of days came back. It's like, oh, do you mind if you do that? Go ahead. And then I said, oh, can I put it on the official release? It's like, yeah, okay, awesome. I guess on that, just on that, I wanted to make sure that the game works on the base level, which is like using the normal graphics. And there's a couple of things that, like in the game design, just on the graphics themselves. Like if you, I don't know, when you play through, you might notice subconsciously, but any of those sort of ground stations, like there's the radar dishes and there's some tanks that go by. And anytime there's like a zero on those, it'll be like be using a zero or an O instead of an
mhm.
O. So you can if it looks like there's a zero, it means it's kind of on the ground. Where if it's an O or a cockpit kind of idea, it'd be a blank,
In
just be
Oh my
using
gosh.
an O. So you can kind of visually separate almost subconsciously between what's on the ground and what's not on the ground that you can, so what you can and can't run into accidentally, things like
I'm gonna
that.
have to just go watch the video because I am not going to get good.
Yeah. Right, but I mean, there's some visual tricks like that. But I mean, when it's going on to and then using like, I guess that's kind of reinforced by those trees because all what are supposed to be trees are zero zero characters on the actual screen. But I guess the difference, I guess, when you take that into putting some graphics around those, you can throw that a bit out the window, which is nice. But I think it's important to get it running so it makes sense just with the graphic characters. And then
David, what did you develop on?
um, so I'm using the Z88 development kit, DK, to compile the code, and to write it, it's all just done in Genie, which is just a Linux IDE. Um, and it's all written in that. Um, so nothing special
So
at
did you run
all.
it on real hardware then as you were debugging, or how did you?
Yeah, so mostly I've got two emulators. So I've got an older emulator, and I'm using Z88. Was it Z88? The one that just came up on the screen using that
81.
one.
Okay.
So I do most of the testing in that, and then I bring it across to a real machine to test it there. So I've got a Minstrel is the main Minstrel 3 is the main thing that I. So that's a time one of those Tynemouth kits is the
Yeah,
main
yeah.
thing I actually and do it because it's a pretty accurate um, little piece of kit. So I do all the testing on that. So I'll just zap it across to that and double test it there. But I'm not using anything particularly special to develop other than DD8 and a basic IDE to run the compile.
So what's
So that's
your next you know, your next thing? What was the successor to Defender called? I don't remember what that was a pretty, I mean, Defender was challenging, but whatever came after that was pretty even harder in my.
It was Stargate, but became Defender 2, I guess, because of reasons.
Oh yeah, yeah, because Stargate was a something else, like a TV show or something. Yeah, okay.
Well,
I'm thinking.
I think it was some
Or
other reason.
or David, how about emulating like the Mac SE um uh you know with I don't know, the Mac OS like what is it, 6 or something?
Hmm.
The 81 can do that, sure. No problem.
So the next thing actually taking across to the PET, I think, is what we're doing next. Take so again looking at Dave from Timesoft, this symbiotic relationship going along with these games, I think, at the moment. But I was talking to him the other week. He said, "Well, actually, this is the perfect game to take across to the PET because the PET suffers from the same lack of graphics." Um, but in many ways, it's a bit more capable, and don't have those quite the same time constraints. Although the clock speed, it's not much to write home about. So I guess you end up with some sort of time constraint just with the clock speed. But yeah, that's kind of like the next. We should actually get it run a bit faster on the PET too than it does on the 81, obviously. Um, but there'll be a few odd challenges there. So that's the next immediate project to do that. It's just coming up. I don't know when we haven't started that yet. We've just been discussing the discussing doing it. But so that's the next immediate one. As for games, basically the engine behind Zevious now, you could take most of that and then do a whole bunch of just add some additional features and whatnot and run a
Mine
whole
Hunter.
whatever kind of scrolling game that you want. So one of the other inspirations behind the game is there's a game on the Spectrum called Light Force, which was another candidate. I thought, well, that would be a good showcase as well, rather than Zevious, because it would be easier. It would have been easier to do because there's a lot of black space on that. So like the levels would have been I could have actually put a lot more level than I did with Zevious. Although there's a fair bit of level in Zevious, but the potential would have been quite a lot more. But I got some ideas from there about how I could actually make. I already got a couple of ideas out of that Spectrum game, how I could do things. So if you look at the way the bullets work in Zevious, I actually borrowed. I was look at actually I can use that method um, from Lightforce to make mine work a lot more smoothly as well. Because I think the main thing for me was that they moved like two squares at once, and going, it makes more sense. I don't have to worry about all this bizarre timing and things. And if I make them 2 characters wide, 3 characters wide, instead of doing individual bullets, I can actually make the hitboxes work a lot better, and there's a lot less for the 81 to think about which was not another thing. So it was, yeah, there were compromises in trying to get the 81 just to not have to think too much. It's, that's well, I should get borrowed from, but that's the luxury, I guess, of developing now, right? You got all the as simple as the tools are, like Z88 DK and just an IDE. It's like it's miles ahead of what I could have done in 1981.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like
Yeah,
it's
to me this is just um it's just so amazing. Like you said, miles ahead. And you know that you can come up with the idea and you can, work through it with the Z88DK and arrive at some reasonable, testing iterations and then come back and say, oh yeah, okay, so now I'm ready to do the game. Um, that's just astounding that, you know, obviously we didn't have these tools and, to try to imagine programming this in one of those assemblers that, on tape that, maybe you got from Arctic or something like that would just been it, all the things
possible.
you have described thus far make me think, okay, so what do you do in your free time? Um, and to do the same thing in assembly in 81 with a tape-based, sort of system would be like, um, so who's bringing you orange juice to keep you alive?
You at least need two ZX81s, I think, in order to make to do it. But that's the benefit of living now. I mean, but I guess like the game, I guess games like this, I guess the point of doing them now is to prove that they were possible, right? Even back in the day that they were possible.
Hmm.
And this,
Hmm.
I mean, a game like this, I mean, later on, like games for the Spectrum or the Commodore 64, you've got like team by the time that those computers are taking off, and later you've got suddenly got teams of programmers like two or three. You've got a guy working on graphics, got a guy doing the music, a guy doing the code. So there's less for people to think about.
Yeah.
But
Also, remember that some of those professional developments were done on other machines.
Yeah.
So they weren't. It wasn't really seat of pants as it was using your own machine with a tape-based compiler or something. It was, yeah, you were working on some other system. Although I don't know what those tended to be. I guess maybe they were often like a CPM system or something. Or
Well, I've seen a picture and I've read I've read an article. I don't remember who the developer was, but he talks about using his a Radio Shack like a Model 3 to do his work, and then it would compile to a thing that he would bring over to his 81. So there's that. Hey, Charlie, do you want to ask your question? You're muted though.
I know. That's what I was saying. Now you want me to find unmute. Yeah, I was just wondering if there was anything in the ZX81 hardware that pleasantly surprised you when you got into this process.
the fact that I could do it.
Okay.
I, I think the 81 always surprises you, like because it's always and it's always like this. Oh, it's just a crappy look. It's just a calculator, right? Which is kind of like the dead response someone gives you. It's a calculator with a bad keyboard, and those things are true to an extent, but oddly well thought out machine, given all its limitations. And I kind of come back to the Apple One. Like everyone says, oh, Steve Wozniak did like an amazing job getting an Apple One to work with X, Y, and Z with no hardware. And you look at an 81 and you go, well, there's even less hardware there, mate. That's a thing of beauty. And but there's of course there's limitations involved with that. And then one of them is that the screen freezes. When you're drawing a screen, the computer doesn't let you do anything else. So it's those limitations that you need to work with are the things that are both frustrating, but also get more out of you, I think, and having to try and work around those, and then you can find that space to do things. That's the surprise, I guess. is going to deliver something like this, the Zevious or other anyone who writes a game, right, can deliver anything that's on this machine. That's amazing, and the fact that you can still do it, you know, that it could always these things are always possible, and then 16K should be enough for anyone. But that's a surprise. That's always surprising. This is how capable the machine actually is. And I think like all these machines of these age, like everything moved along so quickly. Like you'd release something in 1981, like a ZX81, or you get a TRS, like Color Computer 3, or a few years later, or whatever it was. Those iterations like were huge, right? But there's only a brief window of opportunity for someone to make the most of these things before everyone kind of moved on to doing something else. And you'd end up with like it scratches all the games with whatever was written would kind of scratch the surface, particularly the earlier computers. Like everything was just like, okay, this is what it can do. Can we move on, please? To something can do something a bit more. But at the time, it's like, well, actually, it can do a lot more because no one had the time, I guess, to be that because of the commercial reasons or just because look, there's the new shiny thing, that no one actually dedicated enough time to these things to go, actually, you can dig a whole lot more out of these things than anyone actually thinks is possible that you can do. And finding it being able to do these things, that you can actually get this stuff done, that's kind of like, that's a surprise. That's golden. That's what makes it worthwhile doing it. Even if only 3 people see it, and you and a couple of people see it, it's kind of fun. It's a challenge.
It's been more than 3 for sure. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's already got more downloads on each than Tut Tut, so it's kind of weird.
Is there a download counter on the site on itch or no?
No, but if
Oh,
you get to see yourself, so I won't give
okay.
away the
All right. So
it's not
how
just
many downloads? Now you've got me curious. Do you know roughly?
100,
I'm sorry,
400.
400. Okay. All right.
Which doesn't seem like a lot, but uh,
I mean, given the community, that is a lot. There's I don't know how many people are. I'm in a couple different, 81 and 1000 groups and whatever on Facebook. Um,
for an 81 game.
for an
Right.
81 game, exactly.
So I'm not running for like a massive audience. You're running for this select group of people.
this isn't going to be $1 million maker, no. But yeah. I
Like
mean, that's about 100 a
this
week though.
it's got like 4 times that amount of
Yeah.
downloads. But I'm not expecting to make $1 million out of this 81 game. But yeah, but it's quite something. And they'll go on for ages, and then people, of course, swap it without the downloading in each, and so you really got no idea, I guess, in the end,
Mhm.
how the game has gone, and it doesn't matter. I'm not doing for the downloads, but yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm glad people are actually enjoying it because it's a lot of fun to make, and it opens up. Obviously, it opens up different computer versions, like doing the PET version, and they'll get a similar amount of 0 downloads as the X81 version, right? But probably a few more because it's oddly because the PET's a US based computer, so you tend to get more
Well,
oddly more interest in
there are
those. But
probably more 1000s out there, just because it's compact and, it's easily stored. You can like just tuck it underneath a door, for instance. You can't do that with a VIC-20. Like you try to stick it next to the door, you can end up tripping over it. So what you do with the VIC-20 is then just throw it away, right? But you keep the 1000 because it's got
No,
uses around the house.
I thought you hollowed it out and made a bread bin.
yeah,
Oh, right. Okay. Excellent.
I guess there's a chance is that people would like chuck a ZX81 in the cupboard and forget about it for like 20, 30 years and they go, oh, what's this thing? It
What?
should be higher.
That never happens.
fell behind the fell behind the dresser.
What is this thing behind the bookshelf? Oh, wait, it's structural now. Oh,
Yeah, it's a fun machine. It always has been
yeah.
a fun machine to do stuff for, just because it is limited, and also because it doesn't have to be, which is
Yeah.
what
Do
Yeah.
you
the secret.
remember the? I don't know if you've seen them. I got a tape of it was Michael Orwin cassette 4 had a bunch of games for the 81 on it, and I remember playing. I think it's like the Invaders one on there. Got to a level it's so fast you can't like shoot the guy anymore. They had coded that in machine code so well. It was just he would just flit around the screen and you just could never shoot him after that point. So it could go fast. It was a pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
Well,
yeah, it's
David, to your point about, using the hardware to do stuff. One of my favorite games for the 81 1000 was, I think it was called Phaser, and it appeared in Sinclair User. And it just, just drew this sort of star field using periods and zeros. And then there was a UFO that used the enemy UFO, I think used parentheses with a zero inside, which kind of ended up looking like a TIE fighter, right? And I, I my memory's kind of vague on this, but I think you had to like press the letter for the column that it was in order to hit it. And if you hit it, or if it hit you, I think yeah, if you hit it, it used a switch. It would switch between fast and slow really quickly, and the effect of it was that the screen would shake as if as if like in an arcade game, you'd been hit. Um, super simple technique, and yet, you know, really effective. It stuck with me because I remember typing that program in multiple times from the American version, Timex Sinclair user, but it was originally in Sinclair user. Um,
yeah, it's simple things
yeah.
that work. That,
Yeah, well,
that
that was. I guess that was taking advantage of kind of like the analog part of it, right? It was just stopping the video signal and then putting it back on. It would resync and it would just roll the screen or jerk it around. In
Yeah.
fact, if you did the fast slow with volume up, that's how some made some sounds.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you could actually had one. You would actually digitize the input and then play it, pulse it back out at the same rate, and get this really crappy reproduction of the sounds.
There's a basic program for the is that ZX81 that you could use, and each key would cause it to break earlier in the program, and it would poke the I/O so that it would make different tones. And the further down the program you got, the longer the tone was, or the lower
The
frequency the tone.
lower. Oh,
Just with a basic program.
that's crazy. That's really crazy. I don't remember. Where do you remember where that was,
I'll,
John? Was
I'll
it?
see if I can find it.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. David, I'm so glad you joined us. I figured, we'd talk for half an hour or something like that. And, obviously
Wrong, wrong
Zevious is
again,
epic. What's that? What's that, Ryan?
wrong again.
Wrong again. Yes. Uh-huh. I always underestimate, how long we'll go on about these things. But, Zevious is epic, so I guess it makes sense.
on to the
Um,
next game.
on to,
So,
and to the next game. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we'll have you on about that one too.
I don't know what that's going to be yet, but there'll be another one. Try and as soon as I can work out what needs to be demonstrated next time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like again, I'm going to keep saying, but I think that's the thing. I think about you could write like I guess Zevious takes an existing game and then makes a point that it could have been done. And I think that's the interesting part. It's like not necessarily taking existing game, but taking techniques that or whatever people thought were you shouldn't be able to be done, and then making them happen within a game, and to make it that interesting. And that's what's a challenge with this system. It's like let's make something that shouldn't be fun,
Oh yeah,
or
that's always fun when someone comes up and says, "What did you use here?" They can't figure it out. Oh, I just used the regular system. And it's just you didn't know I could do this.
yeah.
It was like the time I used the Lotus 123 macro language to write a game, and 123. They were like, what's going on? So that's really fun to do, is stretch something like that.
No, it's just a kind of, I like Zevious, like it was just a kernel of an idea. It was just like playing around with some scrolling and saying what's possible, and then that was like made the sort of came together. Was the game just from some testing. Um, it's getting an idea and then running it. So I don't know what the next one's going to be. What I need to do. No, I mean, Tut Tut was about originally the first game. That was about trying to make a spectrum run as fast as possible so I could get it to do in basic and still have a good game. You know, uh, ended up running for ages on all sorts of systems. I mean, obviously, Zevious has been done with thousands of systems, so I don't need to port it to the thing because it already exists on a lot of game on machines, um, except the Commodore PET, obviously. Um, but what's next? I don't know. I have to work out what I want to challenge
And
with.
your copious free time. Right.
Yeah, my copy time.
Right.
Yeah, I have heaps. So,
And again, all the stuff you've described, and I think, okay, so David said he started this, essentially sort of last fall, because you mentioned Christmas and stuff, and then, it's now July, and it came out about 4 weeks ago. So, I mean, do you not ever see the sun?
yeah,
What happens there, you know?
good to see that. I get to see this. I didn't rush it. Um, I didn't rush it this time.
Yeah.
I meant to have in a couple of well, it wasn't like one or two nights or something, but I mean, I did let it sit around and sink in what I was doing before I go back to the screen and try and type something else out to try and make it work a bit better. So it was, yeah, I guess March was when I sat down to start writing it.
Th-
Anything meaningful.
See, this becomes even more like one of those articles you would have read in Sinclair User or ZX Computing. I sat down in March to write my game, and here it is, but published, um, in your magazine a month and a half later.
Yeah.
All the energy that we had, and the not being distracted as teenagers, just poured that into the work.
That's also the thing about the simple systems, right? You don't have to go and think, oh, do I use Unity or do I use this or do I use that?
Tr-
No, you've got like there's a set of constraints that you need to work with, and you kind of in your heart, you know what those are, and you're going to fight those to try and do what it is that you want to do. But you know what's I mean, what you know what's in your way of you achieving stuff, and it's the 16K and the thing being slow. And,
Right,
and that's the challenge. So you kind of know what's there and the rest is trying to fight around that. But it's not a whole bunch of like, oh, I need the most, I'm gonna have to go and design all these super graphics to bring those in. I'm gonna need to go and do this and get that and get this plug. Like you don't need to worry about all that.
right,
It's just a
right.
bit of thinking and then working out why your thinking didn't pay off or did.
Yeah, programming was so much simpler back then.
Yeah.
That
I definitely miss those days.
that is about the most succinct way of saying it, Mowgli. You got it exactly. Um, Very cool, David. Do you talk about on your site any of these techniques that you've, sort of worked out and um
Try to. I wrote something up a couple of last week about some of the
okay.
making of. Um, and I'll probably go back and cover them. I know in particularly for Tut Tut, because I wrote that for a magazine originally.
Yeah.
So I gave a pretty detailed account of how I got everything to work on that one to get that one fast. So that's the most detailed view I think I've ever given on the on the on the running of a game. If I'm doing the hardware stuff, generally try and cover what I've done to the hardware and how I got that to work in the blog articles, so that those that follow have a better idea. I think I did that to an extent with the keyboard, like stuff. Though I left some of it a bit secret at the time, um, because I was trying to sell it. Um, Particularly the code that did the emulation stuff.
Yeah.
Although I should probably publish that now because it's pretty, so others can use that too. Although it was just built on what other people had done too, um, so I should probably publish that as well. If anyone else wants to make a keyboard that can work with the real machine and work with a and work with the PC at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, that was the fun project doing the keyboard to do that, because it let you actually test the games and things out on on a computer that get a feel for emulations and things. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool little keyboard for, both machines, both the 81 and for using with emulators. It is really nice. Um, yeah, yeah. Cool. Thank you, David. Thank you for, not staying up late.
that was a good time of day. I mean, that.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Have a ch-
Anybody else want to harass David? Because I want to jump to Joe and get Joe to do some show and tell in a second here. Joe, are you there?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Let me spotlight you, Joe.
Okay, just a minute before I gotta put that camera back up. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna share this first. So David sent me some hardware and said, "Hey,
Oh
can
my
you take a
God.
look at this uh stuff that I've been sent to maybe feature at the you know uh, computer show
Yeah.
in Chicago." And why did this all go away?
And you know what, Joe? Now that I'm looking at this, I see immediately a composite video mod on the lower
Yeah,
left
it's a
there
composite video
with
mod that doesn't work,
the little
right?
transistor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, this is a 555 timer that's adding a back porch
Got
with
it.
these two transistors and some capacitors there, but it doesn't work. But I picked up the signal right off pin 16 of the ULA, and it is producing a K cursor. This stuff over here
Yeah.
is adding, it looks like it's adding some extra keys or functionality to an extra keyboard, which
Okay.
this connector right here is an extra keyboard or external keyboard.
Okay.
And this adds some extra functionality. And I think this is a keyboard beeper using this chip right here. I haven't completely reverse engineered all this yet, but I've started on it. All right. This stuff right here, I have no clue because I can't see the chips. I literally need to desolder all of this, but I need to write down where everything connects first,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a
What's with this
time sink
collection
right there.
of capacitors down here on the bottom? Yeah, right there.
That stuff I think is just for timing, the signal timing of something.
Okay.
It looks like it's pushing some signals around, or pushing the timing of some signals around.
Okay.
They're very small capacitors, you know.
Just physically large.
Well, yeah, they're
Real
physically large, but they're very small
value.
capacity,
Yeah, yeah.
very small values. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So that was kind of neat. Uh, so I've been playing with that one.
Yeah.
And there, I wanted to throw you a still image of this keyboard, right? This is a keyboard. That's all I can say about it. No, but you notice there's only 3 rows here. And this top row serves dual function of being 1 through 0, also Q through P. And you access those by flipping the switch either up for the numbers or down for the letters.
Well, as it clearly says right there on the right-hand side,
Yeah,
up,
up and down.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
once I cleaned this, I cleaned the paper a little bit so I could see it better because it was quite dusty, right? And once I
Yeah.
cleaned it off a little bit, then it was more clear as to what the heck was going on here, right?
Yeah.
So these key switches down here are that, and the little Radio Shack push buttons up here, which some of them didn't work. I actually replaced some of them to make them all work now. But these, these are dual purpose key switches, which just confounds me because it's very difficult to program even the simplest program on this because you're
Now,
constantly having to flip that switch up and down.
now I know how we can get rid of an entire row on my 40% keyboard, you see.
That's
Exactly.
right. Yeah, you just add one switch. There you go.
Well, now wait a minute though. There was a teletype that
Yes,
uh
there was. Yes. Now that you say that, yes, there was. There was a teletype that um
like it didn't have the numbers or something.
it, I remember back in the day, right? Back in military times, working on some sort of teletype with a foot switch. And it seems to me that the teletype with the foot switch was like a shift.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly which one that was, but yeah, you'd have to click a button on your with your foot. The keys were all the same, of course, but it was like an add-on to give it lowercase and numbers.
Yeah. I
Gosh, yeah, that was a long time ago.
I
Yeah,
I kind of get the feeling that whoever did this, obviously they had what is that? 10, 20 of these larger red push buttons. And, if those came from Radio Shack, they weren't cheap. Even if they came in a two-pack, they were not cheap for the time. And, they sort of got to a certain point on this project and was like, I don't feel like drilling any more holes.
yeah,
Plus I'm out of buttons, so I'm gonna have to switch up my buttons, go down to Radio Shack and get 10 of these little red ones. So I'm just gonna use a switch instead of putting in 10 more holes or something. Yeah. Anyway.
yeah. And it has this nice bar graph for loading programs.
Yeah.
I thought this was the one that was widely published with a. Oh, help me! I wrote it down, then I lost my note here. Where's my note?
Oh, the chip, it should be an LM3914.
Yeah, it's not. It's a LM3915.
15, okay, which is
A
the
15.
the dot version, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. I
Okay.
did find a reference schematic for the circuit that drives this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the, I don't know, I would say granularity of the other one,
Yeah.
but it does work. And I did use it to load a program on this particular machine just to watch it do its thing. So yeah, that was kind of cool. It does work.
Um, this reminds me, let's see. Don Lancaster wrote an article in Popular Electronics, Computer Electronics, one of those two, about using, if I remember properly, two two of these LM3915s plus two CMOS I think counters, uh and then a bunch of other glue chips, like a ton of them. and you would build a 10-ish, how many is that? Eight? So a 16 by 16 array of LEDs, and you would have your own you'd have your own LED oscilloscope using that dot bar graph audio chip, whatever it was called. All right, so Joe, you can I spotlight your camera screen then? Uh,
Yeah, there you go.
oh, there we go.
So
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, try to get this to focus. There we go. So this is another one of the goodies he sent me.
Yeah.
Uh, Come on, focus. There
And
we go.
is that a TI? That I think that's a TI, isn't it?
That's that. No, it's not. It has these weird round holes at the bottom. You
Okay.
see those?
Yeah.
And those key switches are very unusual. I don't think I've seen them before.
Oh
They're
my
all
gosh, that's right.
round.
It's not a TI.
Yeah, they're all round. It's some sort of metal bracket. I have not seen this keyboard before. I've not seen these key switches before. Uh, but it's all hand painted. That's what really got me. Cause so if you can see that,
Yeah, with
if
whiteout, I
it's
think. It has the texture of whiteout.
yeah, it's quite the thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And then
basically what you're doing is you're collecting a bunch of computers that when the end of the world comes, we can use these.
you got it.
Yeah, yeah. Is that shown backwards for you guys
No, no,
or
it's
forward?
it's correct.
Okay, it's backwards for me. Okay,
Yeah.
so the only thing that was missing was a space bar. So I 3D printed a space bar for it. I had to make a custom receiver because these key switches are really weird underneath.
Yeah.
They're not like anything standard that we have today. But yeah, that was the keyboard. So that's good to go. And I especially liked, I don't know if you can see this. So, it's all backwards for me. The reset button on top,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
ventilation holes, and then that little green thing sticking out there. Can you see
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of hard to see. But anyway, that's a Christmas tree bulb
Oh.
and it's a power indicator.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you were kidding. Okay, got
No,
it.
it's a real Christmas tree bulb power indicator light. So that's going to be something fun to watch or to look at. Okay.
Oh my
Anyway, so
God.
yeah, my camera's being stupid, so I'm going to stop this.
That's insane. That is
Yeah.
insane, Joe.
Uh, but yeah, hopefully I can get the other one with all the add-ons reverse engineered by the time we get to Chicago.
And again, with David, you know, you Joe, I know you have other things to do. How do you fit this
Oh,
in?
yeah, my wife and I are rebuilding our porch. So yeah,
I mean, that's not even the
the
least of it.
wraparound porch all the way around the house. But
Uh,
but no, I'll tinker for a couple hours, and then come back to it, do something else and come back to it. Yeah.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
But yeah. So if anybody has any clues on that those other circuits, what the heck they're doing on that bizarre
Well,
dead chip
um,
mod type machine, let me know.
I think you're onto something with the extra keys because just this weekend I was looking um there's a whole bunch of articles about the 2068, like programming articles and hardware articles and stuff like that that I've flagged on my website that I wanted to make sure that the content was in the website. And one of those articles that I worked on this weekend was a a schematic, a project to add an escape key to your 2068 because, there's no escape key obviously on the keyboard. And if I think that this was in the context of maybe a terminal program that the person who wrote the article was interested in doing. Um, but yeah, he did a little diagram of how to add extra keys, and then he gave some other examples, like up to eight different keys. But sending the escape, which is what, 27 ASCII value 27, I think. Um, yeah. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's like, some of that is just like um doing the shift for the arrow keys and the shift for the edit and that sort of thing, because there were some there were some articles along those lines.
Yeah, I posted a small board that added a bunch of automatically shifted characters
That's
a long
right.
time ago.
Yeah.
Like a little PCB you could order and add to a mechanical keyboard to add those extra keys that were convenient.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
It
Yeah.
was either diode steering or a little bit of 74 LS logic to add those. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. So yeah, he gave me a nice project to have fun with.
I, it keeps you off the streets, right?
No, no,
Oh.
I was on the streets today, so I went all the way to Menards and bought a bunch of lumber. So
Oh, cool. Hey John, can I can I ask you about your work with Asa Gordon's um programs?
Yeah, sure.
So, A, what prompted you to even pick this up?
I think it was an auto-generated email from the site, right? Talking referencing that article or that video that he was in a meeting last year.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just came into my email box recently,
Okay.
and I clicked on it and didn't realize I must not have been at that one. Um, and So I went and I looked at it and I found out that didn't work as it was in there, right? So I started playing with it and sort of uncovered some issues with the OCR, that was done on it. And also two versions of the program were in his paper that he wrote that was referenced,
Yep.
and they were slightly different. One worked, one didn't. Uh,
Um,
but I was able to reproduce the results that he had in his paper after massaging it and getting it to work. So,
wow. Um, so did you get all three of the programs to work, or?
I got two of them to work. The
Okay.
one requires reading in an array, and I don't know where there's no data, right? So
Oh,
I kind of stopped on that one because it's expecting to read in a sort of a data file.
yeah.
It's trying to load that in, and that doesn't exist anywhere that I've found.
Okay. Okay.
So I can't really go any further. I didn't spend more time on it, but the other two that I put into to the out there on that forum site, those are updated working versions.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I'm the one responsible for the bad OCR and the lack
Well,
of
it was tricky because that document had like white areas where it was a little blank. I mean, OCR only works so well, right?
yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah. And
and so it's hard to get it perfect, and that's very dense code.
you took the words right out of my mouth. Very dense. And just like, eye-crossingly so.
Yeah,
I mean, I spend a lot of time typing in code for magazine articles, and that one was just,
it has over 200 basic variables.
I didn't know that that was even possible.
It
I mean,
is.
given the constraints of, what you can do with variables on the 2068, like, for loops can only have single character variables and that kind of jazz.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got I'm a developer on 81, the emulator, and
Yeah.
I got a version that does basic debugging, basic programs for both Spectrum and ZX81,
Hold,
and
hold,
it shows me variables.
hold up. I'm sorry. We back up to the part about developer on 81?
Yeah.
What?
I contribute to the 81 emulator.
Nice. So what have you done?
Well, the latest version has a lot of audio, like oh gosh, you know the AY chip, and it's also got a bunch of speech stuff updates on it.
Oh,
Those are
really?
things I implemented. Just a lot of different things, I guess, on there. I work with Paul Farrow on that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we've been kind of hammering out updates, and I've got a bunch more in the queue. But it's just that's sort of my pastime. You asked what do I do with, where's all the time come from? Well, it's a it takes a lot of time.
So you are facilitating other people completely wasting their time.
Yes, I'm trying to. That's kind of why I ask questions about, what are you developing on? What tools do you use to do debugging and stuff like that? Because I think
Yeah.
emulators really make that a lot easier than it used to be. So,
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can't concur with you enough on that. Holy cow. That's really cool, John. Um, and I use 81 all the time, and one of the things that I really appreciate about 81 is its wave file
yeah.
loading interface, and that you can adjust those thresholds.
Hmm.
And I don't know how I managed to do this, but every once in a while, if I've got a wave file that won't load because the peaks on the upper half of the wave are, kind of weirdly inconsistent or something. And somehow I managed to get the controls so that it reverses and uses the peaks on the lower half of the wave. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, wow, this is just like single sideband with ham radio. So I get the lower half, the lower sideband, as it were, and those peaks
Yeah,
are far more consistent. You know.
yeah. I use it to both send signals to my hardware ZX81, right? So play right out of the audio into the input to the.
Oh,
So I'll do that just by hitting the play button on 81 and having the audio on, not in flash mode, so that it sends it out real time.
yeah,
And it's just like a cassette recorder basically, but then I don't even have to create WAV files. I can actually do it from a P
a
file.
P file.
Yep. And then I can also read in data from my ZX81 right into the Wave tools, so that I can actually record data back out. If I want to save something from my hardware out over the output port, I can read it right into my PC and into the Wave reader on 81. Works
I,
great.
I'm I'm catching flies over here with my jaw hanging open, John.
Well,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things hidden in 81 that you probably didn't even know was there.
Yeah.
Um, from the annotations, the screen annotations for the ZX81, you can actually see where the back porch signal is, where all of the synchronous, H and V sync pulses are, when it's in its video routines, when it's in an interrupt, when it's halted. You can actually display all that on 81 for the ZX81.
And what are y'all coding in? Is it written in C or something?
It's in C and C++,
Okay. And
using an
how
ancient compiler.
how do you do how do you ensure that the timing is right?
Uh, well, I mean, it's using, sort of Windows-based timing schemes, and we're just synchronizing to a PC clock to make sure that we can actually maintain accurate timing, and the timing is very accurate.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So
No, it is. I mean, you know, it is my favorite, even though I use a Mac, I have installed Crossover just so I can use things like
I
81.
saw it running on the Mac. I'm going, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. No, it works great under Crossover.
Nice, good.
I use it. I use it under Wine, actually under also Box 64 on my Raspberry Pi.
Okay, okay.
Seems to
Yeah,
do okay.
I'm working on various performance updates and things like that as well. But yeah, there's always something to do on an emulator.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, y'all, guys, you don't have to like, hide your accomplishments under a, basket here. You can just come right out and tell people what you're doing. Wow. That's really cool, John. Um, that's really cool. So now I know who I can, go to and say, can you add
Yeah, if you
this?
have any feature requests or anything, you know who to pester.
Well, I mean, the first thing I would love is a Mac native version, but
Well, that's a little harder to do, but
yep,
yeah,
yep.
someday we've got to update it so that's more cross-platform because it's built on a version of Borland C++ builder from 19 or yeah, like 2002.
Well, I mean, as soon as you said Borland, I knew we were talking ancient
Yep,
history.
exactly. It's hard to even find that anymore and get it to run on Windows 11.
Holy cow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Cool.
Wait,
Uh,
why would you run it under Windows 11? You should go find Windows 7 and run it.
Well, it's got to work on people's machines that run Windows 11 too, the compiled version of it. So it works.
yeah.
That,
It works
to
pretty
hell
well.
with them. Much more fun if it runs on older versions.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, yeah, we've done it again. We've managed to chew up almost 2 hours here. Let me check the calendar because I know the Sunday meeting is the 19th, July 19th. And as we talked about it last meeting or the one before, at some point we'll reach our 100. We've long since passed the 100th meeting, which blew my mind. I didn't realize that we had done 100 of these, more than 100 of these. But we are at some point going to approach the 128th, and that will be the one in which we celebrate our own success, I guess. So David, that gives
Full
you
8 bits. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah, all 8 bits. Well, no, that's
Unless,
only 7 bits, 128.
unless we want to do it 127 where they're all bits are one. I don't know.
Oh, excellent. That's right, because the eighth bit is a flag in it's a flag
It,
in the Spectrum and the
yeah,
26.
it might screw things up if we did 128. So.
Is it a flag on the 81 and 1000? I can't remember. I can't recall.
The 81's all screwed up.
Okay, right. All right, you know what? So we'll do the 127th. So David, that gives you probably a few months to come up with a new game and get it published.
Awesome, dude.
And in some way, it should incorporate 127 in it.
Yes.
Oh,
Cool. Cool. All right, gentlemen.
Hey,
Yeah, yeah.
David,
Yep.
if we got a little bit of time, on my Texas journey, I did stop by the
National Video Game Museum. I saw the NVM and I was thinking, what does NVM stand for?
yeah. This is a great shirt. Oh, if I can
We
get it.
can't we can see the back of your chair. You
Yeah,
always look both ways. Nice.
I can hear the music playing.
You're right.
but I do recommend it. It's pretty good. It's not huge, but it's got a lot in it. Uh, there was surprisingly few home computer display things. So that was kind of cool.
Where is it?
It's in, I guess it's actually Frisco near Plano, north of Dallas,
Okay. Okay.
and yeah, they had. Well, I could throw some pictures here real quick if you want.
Yeah, yeah, pop them up. And I'll disparage portions of Texas while you do that. So for those of you not familiar with Texas, there's Austin, which is very nice. There's San Antonio, which is also quite nice. Then there's the rest of Texas, which um,
Leaves
involves
a lot to
words
be
that,
desired.
thank you. I was going to use words that you're not allowed to really use, you really shouldn't be saying on YouTube. Um, and especially places that are small in northern Texas. I mean,
Yeah.
Plano. The only redeeming thing in northern Texas is Denton, and the only reason Denton is has any redemptive value is that scenes from the Rocky Horror Picture Show were shot there.
Interesting.
All right, I think we got.
Oh,
Let
gotta
me
go there. There
make
we
sure
go.
that this is spotlighted. This share. There we go. Okay, I've got you spotlighted. Oh, that's pretty. It's compact. It looks like.
So they had, like early Pong
Yeah.
stuff, usual stuff, giant Pong drums. Are you seeing your thumbnail on top of
Is there a
everything?
ColecoVision there?
Maybe I should. Oops.
Well, I had
Go back.
spotlighted this. Oh, I see what you mean by thumbnail. How do I get rid of that? Crap.
I think I have to get rid of it somehow. There we
Oh,
go.
okay, cool. Thank you.
Development systems. That was
Oh,
kind of
wow.
cool.
Wow, Code Warrior. Haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, I think there's just some more development systems here too.
Oh my gosh, Archon. Love to play
Uh-huh. And Arctic
Fox.
Fox
that.
killed a lot of brain cells with that one.
Yes.
Um, then a wall of the old machines.
Wow. How
Um,
quickly you passed that Bally arcade.
Go back to all the machines. I want.
oh
Yeah,
wait,
yeah.
I've got closer ups of those.
Okay.
Let's see.
I didn't see the
Oh,
one that Mobley got from me.
here's con- here's controllers that you might remember a few of
Yeah, the
these.
Wyco. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that
Uh-huh.
video command stick. That looks familiar.
Well, that's from the what should we call
Channel
it?
F.
Channel F.
Yeah.
So it's
Which
very
is
similar.
it's the direct descendant of the Timex joystick. It's
And
There were Atari clones of that, I believe, as well.
yeah.
and a lot of these handheld things that I remember lusting after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Football.
trivia there with those joysticks too. A company called Zircon, I think, bought the company that made those.
Yep.
And Zircon makes all the stud finder stuff.
Ah,
What you mean like the home stud finder?
Zircon back in the day. Well, I think even today they still make the stud finders that
Oh,
you
yeah.
can
how
go buy.
bizarre.
Yeah, but it's the company called Zircon, and they made those joysticks back in the day.
God, I assumed
Ooh,
that they
that is
were.
a sweet
Oh wait,
display.
go back for a second, Ryan. All right,
Yeah,
so
That.
they had some of these store displays, and then they had like a simulated game store here.
store, yeah.
Yeah. No, but that Atari display, that is a nice display.
All right, so I want to point something out. Down in the lower left hand corner is a game called Gorf,
Yeah.
which is frog backwards.
Uh-huh.
And we also have, a game called Frogger. And there's like multiple instances of the word frog, especially within the Atari ecosystem. There was a disk drive system called the RANA, RANA, which is Latin for frog. I don't know what the Atari people were fascinated with frogs with, but they were. Anyway, go
Yeah,
ahead. Go ahead, Ryan.
but here we go. The video
The video
brain.
brain. What's that white thing? Is that Nintendo something? What? Oh, look at this. I wonder if you could play games on this.
Yeah. What nice words did they say?
You
Can
could
you
definitely play
imagine?
Flight Simulator.
Can you imagine programming or even gaming on
Gaming
this
on
thing?
this thing. Ah.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm talking about with North Texas. These people have no sense of taste.
I know Flight
Uh,
Simulator, man.
you want
What were you?
you want the Intellivision home
Wow.
computer
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
that thing got
cradle?
Mattel in so much trouble. They had a lawsuit against them.
Yep. Yeah.
So they actually had to make, I don't know, I think they made 150 of them. They proved they could sell them.
A few. Oh, I remember this thing. I remember seeing ads for this thing.
Ultravision.
Well, so Mattel came out with the Aquarius, which actually came up in another group I'm in, um, which I'm guessing came after that.
Yes.
Yes,
Uh, okay.
that's a Radipin
Yeah.
company called Radipin
I
actually
might have a
developed that.
picture of it. Here's
Okay.
Phil Famicom,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then one of my old ones,
A
PC
PC
Junior.
Junior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's IBM's version of a game machine.
Uh-huh.
They had a whole row of these things, joysticks in various states of operation.
Ooh, the
A
Signosis
mid
logo.
cassette player there.
Mhm.
Oh, look at
That's
that.
nice. Oh, this does remind me. Oh,
There's
About
an,
sweet.
that.
there's an Apple IIe to the left there.
So, yeah, who cares about that? Um,
It's not nearly as good as the Timex.
it's not nearly as interesting as the Radio Shack if that was actually an unupgraded Model 1. That's
Mm,
the fun question.
Here's the whole atom system,
yeah.
Yep.
including the power supply over there
The
on the left.
on the left, yes. Uh,
What?
Uh,
It's a dual use power supply. It prints things and it's a power
and
supply.
it's a
What
power
more could
supply.
you ask for?
Who else put a printer in their power supply?
there's the Tiffin.
Apple Bondi. Okay, that's got to be weirdly obscure.
Yeah. Um, Just some Atari cards. I guess some of these weren't actually published.
Hmm.
I didn't look at the detail.
Yes.
I just
So
didn't
there
know there was
was
a Dukes of Hazzard.
so there was that weird expedition that went to the dump that was built or where they found the place where Atari buried like a crap ton of their games and went and dug a bunch of them up.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of those games were like non-published games. So I think those have sort of been passed around amongst the people
Oh, okay.
who went and did that. So
Yeah,
I'm assuming as a museum here they got some.
fun fact
Wait,
about that is that was
there's a
announced.
Doom board game?
Yeah, there's
Oh
board
my,
games of things.
oh wow. Okay, now I have to go hunting for silly board games that are weird.
Sorry about that. There's an MSX
Zaxxon board
machine.
game? Wow.
The WSX, yes. Nice.
And the little 70s home
Oh my
Oh,
God.
hey,
living room.
we had that at Indie Classic. So Simon actually brought essentially a furniture set and a console TV and such to Indie Classic this year. And because we were in a new hotel that had more space, and there was a lobby area that led into the area we had, and he set up something very similar, only not with his nice walls and carpeting and stuff. But he basically had like the couch, the table, the console TV. We had game. He had a game system running on the console TV and things like
You
that.
got to have dogs playing poker on there too.
Mm. Hmm.
He did not, I think, have that. Oh, all right. Oh, this is excellent. Yeah, you got to have Ferris on the wall there.
Yeah.
That's a requirement.
Mm. Video game
Oh,
Video
soccer.
game soccer through the years.
here we are.
There's
Showing
Yep.
it in television
Astro
and the top
Smash, good game.
and the top loading VCR.
Hmm.
Yes.
But we'll see through Ms. Pac-Man.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Is that an ad for new Coke or old Coke?
Oh, where was it?
Lower left with Max Headroom.
Oh,
Oh,
that's just catch
This
That's
is a-
Max Headroom.
Yeah.
yeah.
the
So that's going to be
wave.
what, 93, somewhere
Oh,
around
okay. Then
90?
So
yeah,
that'd
well
be
past
old
new
Coke.
Coke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Atari home computer demo center.
Wow.
Yep. That's also a really nice display.
That is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they managed to get some really, really nice display pieces there.
Okay, here we go.
Oh my.
I actually had that Coleco, that triangular one
Oh, the crazy
with the
Telstar.
gun and the steering wheel.
TriStar Arcade
Yeah. Yep.
or Telstar Arcade.
Yep.
Wow.
And of
Wow.
course the Lee?
The Astrocade,
The
yeah.
Astro, yeah, the Bally Astrocade.
You know, if
Yeah, I
Adam
do
were
have an
here,
Astrocade.
if Adam were here, he'd tell us something about that very specific model that we just looked at. I remember seeing that
Vectrex.
Arcadia 2001 in a video game shop once, and I thought, huh, this is
I
really weird.
think they had a working Vectrex also, and they had like new games for it in the gift shop, I think is stuff.
Yeah, yeah. People are
Oh,
making new games for it. It's crazy.
yeah,
Well, there's a kick.
I have a working Vectrex and then I have a broken one.
Yeah,
So
there's a Kickstarter. They have the minis coming out.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
But I know they were making new games for that.
yeah,
Hey,
Channel F
nice.
system
The
two.
Channel F.
Yep.
Yep, that's the second gen. Yep,
Wow.
Oh, we got a close up of them.
Uh-huh.
that was my first video game machine. Was a Fairchild F.
And then you could call up the info on these things.
Hmm.
I saw a documentary on about the Fairchild and like it was basically one of the engineers of the chip company and the chip company had no idea that their chip would get used for arcade stuff and he went in on his own time he stole one of the chips effectively and like built the stuff in his
Hmm.
garage
Plus,
and then
he was a black dude. He was African American dude too.
yeah,
That was the other
Yeah, very
yeah,
thing.
he
interesting
was,
story.
yeah, and that in that era, that was like really unusual.
Right, right.
And yeah, and they basically like found out he had taken the chip and were like, hey, we're gonna need that back. And he went, but wait, I did this really cool thing with it. And they were like, okay, well, we'll release that.
Yeah, that whole architecture is kind of weird, but
Uh-huh. Well, he's the one, actually, not Atari, who developed the cartridge system.
Yeah.
it was the first cartridge based
It
system. Yeah.
was the first cartridge system.
Yeah, I
So
wonder when you say I'm wondering how many things didn't have some sort of weirdness to the architecture back then.
Well, it was the F8 chip, I get, but it was just wow. Yeah, the way you
yeah.
program things and it was just strange.
Yes. Yes, you are correct. Cool. Thank you, Ryan. That was really nice. That was really nice. All right, gentlemen, I'm kicking you off.
Okay.
See you in 2 weeks-ish, whatever that's going to
Yeah.
be. Yeah. All right.
With the Sunday meeting.
Yes, sir. Oh, stop.